Hi everyone, this is Miss Lisette from Everyday Montessori, and I'm here to answer the most popular question that I get, which is, what is Montessori, and is this something that I could use in my family or my children? So to start off with what Montessori is, I'm going to read from the AMS, the American Montessori Society, from their website, what their definition of Montessori is. Okay, so it is a method of education that is based on self-directed activity, hands-on learning, and collaborative play. In a Montessori classroom, children make creative choices in their learning, while the classroom and the highly trained teacher offer age-appropriate activities to guide the process. Children work in groups and individually to discover and explore knowledge of the world and to develop their max potential. So what does that mean in my own words, right? Okay, so basically my favorite thing, and there's many things I love about Montessori Method, but my favorite of all is their individualized curriculum per child. And let me just give you a personal experience of mine. So I remember when I was a kid, I always told myself I was not very good at math. And I always like to use the example of multiplication, just because everybody knows what that is. And I just remember, there's a lot of step process to understand the analogy of multiplication. And if I didn't get the first step, when I would go home, my mom and dad were both doctors and they were very busy. And sometimes they would help me, sometimes they wouldn't. And if I didn't get it, it's like I was all by myself and I would dread doing my math homework. And then I would go to school and I would honestly be so scared of doing the work or raising my hand if I didn't understand anything, because I didn't want to look dumb. And as an educator, I taught traditional and Montessori. And when I taught my third grade class, now that I'm outside of it, I see it more. I see that when I was in the classroom and I would see the kids and I would question what's going on, why aren't they getting it? Why are they struggling? It's because we're forcing kids to move on when they're not ready. So to go back to what I mean by individualized curriculum is, since typically each kid is with me or the teacher for 3 years, I teach 3 to 6 year olds. So my 3-year-olds are there till they're 6. There's no rushing. So if you don't get it, it's okay, because you have 3 years to be with me to get it. And we don't want to keep moving forward until you get that step. Can you imagine how many kids go through that, where they feel like they're dumb or stupid, but everybody learns at a different pace at a different time, and each subject differently. So you might be more language-based or math-based or art-based, whatever it may be. And I'm sure all of us have experienced some form of this in their lifetime. The second thing that I love about the Montessori philosophy is the level of calmness in the environment. So I remember this is my story of how I got into Montessori. I was teaching third grade, and I was miserable. I loved teaching. I knew I wanted to be a teacher since 5th grade, but I spent, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I spent most of my day screaming at children. Don't do this, don't do that, red light, yellow light, green light. It was just a lot of no control and management over my classroom, even with everything that I tried, all the methods that I tried. And I was considering other careers like speech pathology, and I think it was interior designing. And my dad, luckily, he was like, well, why don't you look into Montessori? I remember you used to talk about that. And I said, let me give it a shot. I remember walking into my Montessori classroom. It happened to be toddlers, so it was 1 to 3 year olds. And these kids were so calm and engaged. I thought they were doing voodoo magic or drugging these kids, because I'm like, How are 1 and 3-year-olds quietly working when I have a group of 30 third graders that can't even sit down and listen to me, not even for 0.3 seconds? And I instantly fell in love. I was like, I have to figure this out. I have to work in this type of environment. The reason why kids are so calm and the environment's so calm and so engaged is many factors. The first factor, it would be because the lessons are very engaging. Okay, so the teacher follows the child and the seasons. So if we notice that the students aren't really engaging in a lesson, we switch it off. Okay, we move it around, and then we put something else. And then when they come in, they automatically sense and see something's off, and they're drawn to that lesson. Okay, that's one thing. We are constantly observing our students, our environment, to fit their needs. The second, just changing up the lesson. And I'll give you a quick example of one of my students. She didn't like math, another math kid that didn't like math. And I knew that she liked Ninja Turtles. So I researched some like Ninja Turtle manipulatives, and I found these erasers that had the Ninja Turtle heads, and she would use them as counters. And she could not leave the lesson. She became from I hated math environment to like, I don't want to leave the math environment. So that's another way of like engaging the child to the lessons. That's one. Two, the lessons are self-correcting. So what I mean by that is there's no need really for the adult or anybody there to tell them. Kids, if you look at them, they're always like, did I do this right? Can you see my work? Can you look? And they are always looking at you like, look at what I'm doing. But in the Montessori environment, at early age, we teach them all the rules and everything that they need to know, including the lesson. So the lesson, like I said, is self-correcting. And they don't need us, the adult, to tell them, good job, awesome, that is right. Because naturally, the lessons show them and they get that sense of satisfaction because it's obvious that they got it right. Now, as they get older, we have this thing called control cards or control papers where they can, by themselves, go get the card or whatever it is that is controlling the lesson, and they can for themselves see the answer and correct themselves. So, for example, let's say if they're learning how to write words, decoding words, let's say they're decoding the word cat, and they're doing the at family. So they're doing cat, bat, hat, and sat, okay? At the end of them trying to write the words down, they go get the control cards that has all the answers, and they check it themselves. They don't need us, the adult, to go check it for them. So another thing that we do, the third thing that we do, is we don't talk loud. So everything is done quietly like this. We whisper, oh, Sally, can you please get me that lesson over there? Or, hey, Sally, thank you so much for doing this lesson. You did such a good job. So if you talk loud, kids are very sensitive to their ears. So if you're talking loud like this, they're going to one-up you. And then the other kids are going to one-up you. And the other kids it's just going to be chaos and sounds, right? So if you're low and you create a low environment, they talk low. That's what they're trained. So my third reason is the multi-age group. So like I said, the most common age groups is 1 to 3 years old, and then 3 to 6, which is what I teach right now. And then after it's lower elementary, which is 1st to 3rd, and then upper elementary, which is 4th through 6th, okay? And think about it. When you go to work, most people don't work with the same age group, same culture, same environment, right? So how can we expect the same from our students? The problem with how tradition is that it's sort of like an assembly line, you know, all the same, everything the same, and then here's the product. The kids really look up to the older ones and they see, wow, if he can do it, then I can do it. And it's been studied that when you are teaching something, you learn it the best. It retains in your memory the best. So these kids that are older are teaching the younger one. Technically, I don't have to be in the room. The goal is to pretend as if the adult doesn't have to be in the room. Usually around November, December, for sure after Christmas break, January, winter break, January, that is when you see the flourishing of like a classroom without the possibility of a teacher in it. But obviously we won't ever leave the room, but it's like we could just literally be in a corner observing the classroom because they already have the strategies that they need. They already are accessible to everything. They already know how the environment works. And like I said, they're their own teachers. They teach each other. So I'm just there as a guider, as a facilitator, suggestions and ideas, and pretty much guiding them the whole classroom. So I really love that method because it's like they're my mini little helpers, and they really get a sense of leadership and accountability, and also learning how to be independent. So those are my 3 right now. So to recap, it's individualized curriculum, the sense of calmness and direction in the classroom, and the 3rd is the multi-age groups. All right, I'm only going to do the 3 today, but next week I'm going to talk about allowing to make mistakes, okay, and the benefits of it. So I know a lot of us parents and teachers really, really have a hard time in allowing kids to do things by themselves and making mistakes. So this is for you people out there that are curious to see what are the benefits of allowing my child to mess up. And the second one is answering the top 5 questions I get asked as a Montessori teacher. So if those 2 appeal to you and you want to know, tune in to next week and I will share with you those 2 topics. All right, this is great, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.